Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Halcyon podcast / GFY Productions live stream. My name's Lauren Risley. I'm going to be your co-host for this episode. With me is a very good pal of mine. Introduce yourself, sir.
My name is Craig Bouchard, also known as GFY.
Wagwan, brother! This is the first time I've ever done anything like this. So, dude, number one, appreciate you taking the time.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate you inviting me. It wasn't even my idea. This is your idea, sir.
Oh, wow.
So
I
think
yours a long time ago.
Well, I had the idea a while back, but it can be a pain to sync up, especially when you're not in the same country. So I appreciate it's pain in the ass. So in fact, I'm gonna shut up for a minute, and I'm gonna let you preface the show and what we're doing here. So what are we doing here, sir?
We are going to have a peaceful debate about some kind of topic.
What's the topic going to be about?
I thought it would maybe be the topic of marijuana.
The stickiest of the icky. Okie dokie. So, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm wrong a lot, this stems from a tweet the other day of mine, is that right?
Yeah. I just thought it was very interesting that, you know, we get along so well, and I just knew that someday, in the real life part, I would see something that we thought different about.
Okay. I'll tell you why this is interesting very quickly. Very, very recently, I had a conversation with another content creator on YouTube. I won't give him his name, just to make sure he's not. Sorry?
It was kind of cutting in and out. I didn't hear the name.
No, yeah. So sorry. Yeah, I won't give the name. Just out of courtesy for him. It was a different conversation. But the point was that we were having a conversation about I'm not a big marijuana fan. In fact, I don't advocate for it in the slightest. But the tweets, weirdly enough, were about Elon Musk. He was on a podcast with Joe Rogan, and he was smoking it.
Joe Rogan.
Yeah, he was smoking it, and people gave him a lot of shit for it. Which I thought was interesting, considering three things. Number one, it's legal where he was doing it. Number two, if you watch the video, he literally has a puff and goes, I can't really feel the difference. And number three, they do that kind of shit all the time on Joe Rogan's podcast. Literally all the time.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, this seems a bit weird for everyone to get pissed off about. But it kind of segued off into me saying, look, I'm staunchly anti-marijuana, but it's not illegal. What he did wasn't illegal, so there's no reason to give him shit about it. So when I tweeted about that, what's your kind of counter argument to that? Or what's your thoughts on it, I should say? Because it's not an argument, it's a debate, it's a friendly discussion. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, the tweet itself certainly wasn't getting me upset or nothing, because you were very peaceful about hey, if it's legal, then I don't have anything against that part, but just it sounded to me like you wanted it to be illegal.
Let's have a look. So let's find the tweet. Odd fact: I'm staunchly anti-marijuana. No basis beyond I detest the smell, and there's a history of abuse by people I was fond of. So I hate the substance. Yeah, so that's just my personal experience with it, dude. It's nothing to do with because what I was going to ask you was, because this is kind of the point of the podcast. It's not really about me. It's how really you feel about the statement that I made. What's the culture like in America at the moment? Because I know it's not exactly cut and dried that everyone's now on board with it. Isn't that right?
Pretty much, yeah. It's kind of like legal or time in jail. People either want it legalized or they want you to go to jail. So what's it like where you are at the moment as far as buying and consuming marijuana is concerned? It's pretty easy for me. I have a pretty lucky life, so it's not too hard for me to do it. But I know that for other people, it has to be hard and it has to be worse. There's all different kinds out there. And then people who can get it legally can get really great kinds and edible kinds and all kinds of different stuff. So I would definitely like it to be legal so that, I didn't have to worry about getting in trouble.
So as far as, what I'd like to get into, because this is something that maybe doesn't translate from country to country, because in this country, there's a bit of a difference in culture from what I would argue is the way in the United States. In the United States, and correct me if I'm wrong, there seems to be, it's more, there's a stoner culture, isn't there? There's like, the stoners and the baggy jeans and the backwards hats and the loose clothing and the surfer dudes and blah, blah, blah. That, it conjures up that kind of thing. Then in England, you don't really have that. What you have is there's a drug culture, and weed gets mixed in with a lot of that culture. So it's more gang related. There's a more violent connotation when you talk about weed, because it's not something that everyone does. It's only something that people who typically are involved in crime do, because number one, it is still illegal in this country, and number two, the culture that it's involved with is more gang oriented. It's predominantly young men who are involved in criminal activity. So the association, I would argue, is a bit different, and maybe that's what feeds into my. I'm more against it because we're a bit more uptight, whereas Americans are more liberal. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that makes total sense, man. I certainly don't fit it. I mean, I don't. I used to do that maybe in high school and middle school, do the baggy jeans and the whole lifestyle thing. These days, it's just kind of something I do. I don't know, and still wear normal clothes and stuff like that.
So it's not part of your culture anymore. It's just something you do for pleasure.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I totally get what you're saying. I mean, that would totally change it for me too. Yeah.
Or would you disagree? Wow. Would you say that there's? Because that's just an assertion I've made based on a very, very rudimental understanding of your country, dude. So I mean, do you guys? Let me ask a different question. Do you get a lot of, say for instance, if you smoke, do you get a lot of people giving you shit about it, or do people just kind of let it by the by now?
I seem to get away with it pretty good. My girlfriend sometimes gives me shit because of the smell and stuff, but yeah, I think I get away with it pretty good. Okay.
But is it, I guess what I want to kind of touch on is, like, your experience with it has been, I would imagine, largely social and largely positive. Would that be fair?
Not very social, but positive, yes.
Okay, fair enough. Okay. Well, because I don't want it to be a question of me, like, hating on it, because the thing is, I do recognise that health-wise, there's no reason against, there shouldn't be much against it, because it has some medicinal value, and when compared to alcohol, for instance, or prescription medication, there's a lot. No one dies smoking weed, basically. I get that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But I'm in the camp, and you can try and dissuade me if you want to. It made me just saying that I'm a bit of a stick in the mud about this. The fact that it's been illegal, and the fact that people are saying, well, we don't want it to be illegal anymore. Fine, but there's a reason why it's illegal in the first place. Now, you can get into debates as to why it is or isn't. But when you're told not to do something, the first response can't be always, well, I don't wanna, because then where do you draw the line? I mean, that's always been my first thought whenever I've heard people say it needs to be legalized. So where do you come down on the whole legality of it all? Do you think it's a farce? Do you think do you think it's stupid?
Kinda, yeah. Basically, I do. I think in the USA it was made illegal to fight black and Mexican people, especially in the early 1900s. All through our history, I think it was made to fight them. My crazy story is when I was in elementary school, I'm talking like 5th grade or something, I busted my mom doing it. And I was so scared, I was so afraid, and the next day I went and I talked to the guidance counselor at school, and I said, I caught my mom. She was smoking a joint, and they were just telling us recently how bad it all was. But she looked at me in the eyes and she said, "It's not a problem. It's not that big of a deal what your mom did, and don't even worry about it." I mean, my guidance counselor told me that when I was in 5th grade. So hearing that, I don't know. I guess that really changed my perception of it from a very early age. That my mom did it. And then when I was scared and talked to somebody at school about it, they told me to just not worry about it and to be okay with it.
Okay.
So I know that's a very weird story, and I know that that's not what happens to everybody.
Nah, it's not a weird story. Not a weird story at all. I've had, not personally, but I've had friends, conversations with friends in this country about the whole, not necessarily just weed, but drugs in general. And a couple of them have mentioned that they've had conversations with their parents. And I think it's fair to assume that most people's parents have experimented with drugs at some point in their lives. I think previous generations tended to be just that little bit more bohemian about it. And then you get to the 1950s and it was a bit more of a social stigma. But like, say for instance then, you're confronted with someone like me who is against it. Your reaction is one of, well, for me it's been largely positive. It's very pleasurable for me. I don't see any adverse sort of effects from it. It doesn't really bother anyone that I know. What would you want to say to me to try to convince me to maybe be a little bit more receptive to your side, would you say?
Man, I don't know how much more I could say than to just be open.
Do I need to? I think I need to antagonize you a little bit here, don't I? I need to put on my asshole cap, really wind you up here. Listen, man. No, wait a minute. I need to. No. Who would you think gives you? Who would you think is the most staunchly against it in America? Like, what's the stereotypical finger pointy person that gets in your face about weed?
I guess kind of like an old grumpy person, maybe.
Christians?
Yeah, that could be. Yeah.
Because I don't know what religion has to say about drug use, to be honest with you. I don't know much about it, what it has to say as far as alcohol and drug use is concerned. I would imagine that they probably don't advocate it. So they probably do say
they're against it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So let me pretend for a second that I'm an evangelical, and I'm telling you to pull your trousers up and get that stuff out of your face. What? Just come on now, get it together now. Like, what would you say to that person? Apart from, excuse me, I've got 9-1 dialed. I'll dial the third one. I'll dial another one if you're not careful.
Well, for me personally, if I don't do it, I get really intense. I get really grumpy. I get really in people's faces about the tiniest little things. So for me personally, if I don't do it, I will be all up in people's faces for the tiniest, and I'm talking shouting and very intense speeching. And so for me, I need to be mellowed out daily. That's just something in my head. For me personally. So you find it mellows you out. It helps you be the kind of person that you would prefer to be. Is that fair? Yeah.
Okay. Well, allow me to just clear one thing up, because I think we've explored it pretty well. I think going into the detail, because I don't think we're arguing here, to be honest with you. I don't disagree with anything you've said. I think what's important to highlight is that the main reason why I don't like weed, and the reason why I will never, ever like weed, is very simple. It goes back to a time in my life when someone I knew started on weed. Then they got into harder drugs. Then they started dealing. And they became a very, very bad person. Now, the problem I have with that is that it had a massive impact on me and a lot of people I knew. And it all came down to the fact that because he started smoking weed. So it's a very irrational hatred I have for it. I'll grant you that. And like I said, there's nothing I disagree with. There's nothing I would disagree with what you said, because I know that it does a lot of people a lot of good. And I will also concede a lot of the laws in America in particular, I don't know of anyone that's ever been busted for it in this country. I don't know what the laws are over here in terms of what you can be prosecuted for holding. But I know in America it's really dicey. Like in some states you can be arrested for having a 1/16 of an ounce or whatever the terminology is, because I don't know what the terminology is. But then there's other states where you can buy it legally. And that seems really weird to me.
Yeah, me too.
seems really, really weird, especially when there are people in prison now in some states where it was illegal and now it isn't, and yet they're still in prison because technically speaking they committed a crime at the time.
Yeah.
Weird, man.
But dude, your opinion about the starting thing, I mean, that's a huge agreement that we have, because it is an easy starter drug. I mean, yeah, you start with that, you know, it's just a couple of puffs of that, and then 10 years later you're dealing, you know, a hardcore drug or something, and I totally agree that is very easy to do. That is a very easy, that's one of the that's probably a legitimate bad thing about marijuana.
And I would argue that, and this is the thing, this is why I wanted to, because the discussion I had with this other guy recently, it devolved into a lot of, I wasn't really able to make my point, and it really boils down to the fact that I just personally don't like it. It's, like, you mentioned that your missus doesn't like it very much. I personally, like, I'll tell you, there's a place near where I live called Northampton, and in Northampton we have a town centre. Now you can be walking through this and it's open air, it's beautiful, it's all built nicely, and you know, everyone's going about their business, and then sooner or later you'll walk through and you'll go, and you can smell it, and it hangs in the air, and there's something about it I just don't like. It immediately gets my back up, and who's smoking that? Who's smoking it? And there's just something about it, it gets my back up. And it's something I can't describe. It's something I can't really eloquate. And I don't know if anyone else has the same thing. I don't know if other people maybe have just, I mean, like I say, dude, I find it very difficult to see you being an irritable guy. From your videos and from our conversations, you've always been an incredibly mellow, incredibly life-loving, incredibly affirmative and positive person. But you're more than welcome, dude. I calls it how I sees it. But like, what? There must be something that you just kind of, that just riles you. And even if you try to explain it to someone and said, look, listen, this isn't going to make much sense, okay? But I really fucking hate dartboards. And they were like, what? Hey, listen, don't ask me to explain it. They know what they did, right? I know what you mean. I think everyone's got one of those things.
Yeah, I have one of those for sure.
What's your one? Just go on a tangent here. Let's explore the mind of GFY.
There's a lady that lives in the same building that has a child who is in his 20s, who is severely handicapped, mentally handicapped, and all the time that they spend beeping horns and buses dropping him off, picking him up, since I started living here, which was 13 years ago. So he's graduated high school, but he keeps getting all this attention, all this noise, and all this beeping every day, and it's so annoying. And she is one of the biggest bitches I've ever known, ever met in my life. She's even called the police on me because she saw me in the area after a crime was committed, vandalism, on her porch, and because she saw me, she said, oh, it must have been me, so she called the cops on me. I had nothing to do with it. I mean, she's just one of those craziest, but because she has a son like that, of course you have to be nice to her.
But be honest now, were you stood there with a spray can and a crowbar? Because if you were,
I didn't know.
Then what you need to do next time is throw them at her and run away. That's what you need to do. That's the clearest indication of innocence that you could ever hope to have. No, I get you. There are little pet peeves and bugaboos that people have, and it's weed is just one of them. And the guy who I had the conversation with at the time was, I don't know if he was offended, but he was taken aback by the fact that I said, this is true, by the way. If someone I knew and liked smoked weed, I wouldn't turn around and say, well, we can't be friends anymore. And I wouldn't say, you can't do that. I would just say, dude, I don't want it around me. So if you want to smoke, that's fine, but I'm gonna go for a walk or something. Because I don't. It's just the smoke. I just don't want it around me. I'm the same with cigarettes, dude. Like my mum had cancer when I was about 8 or 9. And I remember spending a birthday in hospital while she was having surgery. And that sort of shit comes from her smoke. Nah, mate, she survived, and she's tougher than a $2. She's tougher than a $2 steak, man. It ain't nothing like cancer gonna take her down. But like that, I remember that being like, fuck. I never want to even look at a cigarette. Never smoked a cigarette. Never tried a cigarette. I've had hooch. Obviously, I'm sitting here right now wearing a Jack Daniels hat. But that was when I was 16, 17 years old. So I wasn't legal yet, but you know, come on, 16 is about close enough. Close enough. Yeah. It's close enough. It's close enough. It's close enough. Do you want another story? Jamaican beer, 3 months out of date. That's what that was my first proper case of beer, and we were good and hungover by the next day. I remember waking up with a bunch of writing on my back. It was funny as hell.
Wow.
Exactly. And that story alone should discount my opinion on marijuana, because there's going to be a lot of people that say, hang on a second, motherfucker. I've smoked weed for years and I've never woken up with a fucking dick drawn on my back. You have. And you drink. So how are you any better than me? And I'm saying, look, I'm just saying that if someone says they don't like the smell of Jack Daniels, I put that motherfucker away and we carry on with our conversation. I don't carry on drinking it and saying tough. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a personal preference thing. I understand why people don't like Jack Daniels, because it's strong and it's got a kick to it that not a lot of people like. So I don't rub it in people's faces that they don't like it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I love it. I'm just a very bad alcoholic.
Yeah, I know you were saying, dude. I know you were saying. And if it's any consolation to you, I make a point not to drink on my own, just because, number one, it's seldom a very good thing. Number two, I don't like having hooch in the house because I've got my little one now, and I don't like the idea of her seeing alcohol and thinking that it's okay to have it around. There's just something about that I don't like. And three, it kind of makes a special occasion special if you get like a buddy or two around. You pop a can or you pop a bottle of hooch, and you just like, right, what are we doing? We're watching some wrestling, we're watching some sports. What the fuck are we doing? And you have a good time. You know what I mean? Yeah.
How about edible marijuana? If the smoke part is your main dispute, what do you think about edible stuff?
That's an interesting counter-argument. That's a very interesting counter-argument, sir. In fact, I really secretly hope that my other guy doesn't hear this podcast now, because he's really going to fucking throw that in my fucking face. Oh, shit. That's a really good one. Okay, here would be my counter-argument to that. I'm not a big fan. I don't know how you are, because, dude, this is the thing. This is why you are the perfect person to have this conversation with, because none of my bollocks excuses can really wash. My counter-argument would have been, I'm not a big fan of pills and medication. I don't know if you have the equivalent in America, but we have ibuprofen and paracetamol over here for pain relief. So you take paracetamol for your pain relief and ibuprofen to help your blood sort of, it helps. I think what it does is it dilutes your blood vessels, makes it easier for the blood to flow so that the paracetamol can get to your pain receptors. I don't even like taking those, and you can buy them for for the equivalent of a buck for a pack each. Yeah, so they're super cheap.
Wow.
And they do work, but I don't like taking them. There's something about a drug, any kind of drug, that I don't like. The only two that I tolerate are alcohol and caffeine. They're the only two that I'll go, okay, well, I like coffee, and I quite like a beer every now and then. So as far as an edible is concerned, it's an interesting counter-argument, because there's nothing really against the smell. And to be honest, I don't know what, I mean, so walk me through it, dude. What's the difference in terms of an experience from smoking marijuana to eating an edible version of it?
Well, it's never really worked on me, so I don't really like it myself, or even say people should, but it's supposed to be even more intense than smoking it. It's supposed to be almost like trippy, not completely as intense as acid or mushrooms, but it's supposed to be a little bit more trippy than just smoking it. And a lot of times it'll come in like a brownie or a cookie or a piece of cake, so it's totally not a pill that you'd have to take. But I'm sure it can also come like that. I don't know. No,
I think you're right. Usually when it's an edible, I've seen again on Joe Rogan, I've seen that they're like chewable. They really do emphasize the idea of THC being at the heart of it. So they put it in various products so that it can be consumed. I don't know. There's something about it I don't trust. I think if I was to ever give it a try, and it's a big if, that's a real big if, it would have to be in the comfort of my own home, it'd have to be around people I trusted, and it'd have to be around people that had done it before, so I'd be like, okay, right, what are we doing? How are we doing it? Da-da-da-da-da. Because I'm not that experimental. I've never had that part of me that goes, oh, well, let's try this and see how it goes. I'm like, nah, I'm good. Like, well, try the cigarette. You might like it. I don't care. That's the thing. You're right. I might like it, and maybe I don't want to like it because it's got a lot of bad shit that comes along with it.
Yeah.
Same reason why I wouldn't introduce anyone to Jack Daniels. I wouldn't say, here, have this to anybody, because they might like it, and then they become, boom, they're an alcoholic. And I'm like, shit, I did that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's good.
We all find our own vices, brother.
Yeah.
God damn, the edible argument's really fucking good though. Damn, I really wish I hadn't said that. Fuck. That's a really good counter argument. Shit.
Yeah, I only had a few things written down. That was
you got shit written down? Oh man, I didn't come into this with any notes. I come in with my Twitter feed and that's it. Shit. Look at my boy. He's coming prepared. I love it though. I love the preparedness. But I hope you don't mind it. I'd like to switch gears if you don't mind.
Oh, sure.
Because, well, actually, no. Have you got anything else to say on the topic just before I switch gears? I don't want to, because you're on a roll now. I think you might be winning this back and forth. So I don't want to switch out saying, yeah, you're winning. Let's talk about something else. Is there anything else you want to kind of touch on?
No, I think that was awesome. You
sure? You got stuff written down?
No, that was pretty much. It was my story about me being a kid and seeing my mom do it, and then the mention of edibles. Yeah, and I think both of those points are. I mean, the fact that I think a lot of people are going to have a similar experience. I would argue. I think a lot of people are going to know someone that they trusted, someone they look up to, who would relate to them an experience of having experimented with drugs and said, look, it isn't as bad as what people will make it out to be. It's just that they don't want you doing it en masse because it's not a good habit to have. Like, if everyone's doing it. I mean, fuck, look at social media and everyone being on their phones. I think everyone would argue that that's a really, really fucking bad habit. But everyone's doing it. So it's, you got kids buried nose deep in their phones these days, and we can all look at that and go, that's terrible. Let me tweet a picture of it. It's like, it's terrible. But anyway, so I hope you don't mind me switching gears, but I wanted to take this opportunity because this is the first time me and you have ever done a show. And I've been giddy at the idea of doing a show with you for a long time. So I think it's only fair we give some people some background as to, number one, who we are, and number two, because we're doing it cross here, so some of my audience might not know you and vice versa. Who the hell are you, and what are you doing on my channel? Okay.
And then I'll do the same.
I'm open to anything.
Well, no, just just for anyone that might be tuning into my shit and they've come across this, who's this GFY Productions? What do you do on your channel? What do you do to entertain the folks?
Really, anything that pops in my head. I mean, anything that is funny, creepy, weird. I used to do more skits, maybe, but I don't know. It's really weird. I as long as it makes me laugh, then I make a video about it.
Well, I came across you probably, I want to say 18 months to 2 years ago. Surfing through YouTube, just finding small content creators that I was like, do you know what? Maybe I need to start, if I'm going to start at the bottom, I need to look at what other people are doing and I need to get some ideas as to what other people who aren't just doing what everyone else is doing. And I came across your channel, and I said this in the review. You are one of the most raw and quirky content creators I have found, period. You have content that I will not see anywhere else on YouTube. And you have a candidness and you have a humble nature that is impossible not to like. And that really annoys me because I lack that same kind of candor. I have a voice and a face and a demeanor that annoys people. So the fact that you can just sit there talking about music and people like you is frankly offensive.
Oh, that's cool.
But anyway, so that's my. And then obviously we reached out. We had shout-outs on each other's videos. You absolute legend. You did a very, very nice video about me way back in the day. You said thank you, and I was like, fuck, that's such a nice thing. I remember being blown away by that, bro.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I do videos about whatever's on my mind. So, I don't know. I just really appreciated meeting you, and then Cronenberg and Melga. You know, those guys have become really close friends too.
Indeed, man. Melga has grown a little bit. I would have thought he would have grown a bit more because again, his content is really well produced.
Yeah.
Crow, I'm really happy to see that his channel's starting to take off now because he does a lot of content. And I think for a while he was struggling to find an audience for that just because his a long format. They're let's plays on games that they're not balls. He's not sat there doing what other YouTubers do, which is going, oh my God, isn't this amazing? Everyone laugh, hashtag emoji, He's just literally playing the game and he's trying to walk you through it as if you were there. And that, again, is a style I appreciate because he's not rubbing it in your face every 5 seconds about how, oh God, aren't I great for playing this game that literally everyone else in the world is playing right now? It's like, fuck, if I'm gonna watch someone, I want a gist of the game. I want a feel of the game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's awesome.
He's
he
pretty
does
cool.
Civilization 3 or something just for me. I mean, that was just awesome.
It's pretty cool.
I was very appreciative.
But yeah, so I think, and just for people of GFY fame who may not be familiar with this asshole, my name's Lorne, do Halcyon. Long story short, I'm kind of in the same boat as GFY over here. I just kind of make random shit from time to time, do podcasts, reviews. I don't do as many skits as you. I think I've done one skit, if you want to call it that, and it wasn't even that funny. It was literally a minute and a half of me bigging up a review of Logan, and then at the end of the review, I just went, "It's all right," and that's it. That was the big punchline of a minute and a half of epic music and cutscenes and shit. Wasn't even that fucking funny, but never mind. But anyway, the point I wanted to raise that is because I also wanted to use this podcast as an excuse to talk about other shit. Like, for instance, you watch a lot of my videos, I watch a lot of your videos. Here's what I wanted to ask you. As a viewer of my content, what would you want to see more of and what about it annoys you? Because I've got some notes on you, brother, and I'm going to hit you with them later on, and I'm sure your audience are going to agree with me.
Yeah, I hope you do, man. You can always be as blunt to me as you need to be. With you, I'd say my favorite is when you get deep, just about something about you or about a rule or a law or another person, something that happened to you. I really like those videos, and I guess my least favorite is sports because I don't like sports. So wrestling, yeah, I guess wrestling is.
If I told you I've just finished recording a 25-minute podcast expressly on wrestling, if I said that, are you going to go, that sounds great, I hope everyone that watches it enjoys it?
Yeah, that's probably what I would say.
I gotta say, dude, I appreciate the fact that you give those podcasts a try just because a lot of the time I do talk about sports because it's easy to talk about on my own.
That's cool.
It's difficult to talk about anything else and any kind of analysis. Really what you need is someone to bounce off of in those situations, which is why that kind of content is a bit of a pain. But I appreciate the fact that you're not the only one. Another guy called Cyril who does Defunct Games, he's told me he wants me to add a timestamp into every video when I stop talking about sports so that he can fucking fast forward it. I was like, okay, it's fair enough. I appreciate that not a lot of people watch sports on my channel, but that's fine. It's cool. And like, it just tickled me. But for you, dude, it's very simple.
Yeah.
Just more. I loved your skits back. I loved your skits back in the day. I love the live streams you do because you just have a lot. You have a very relaxed. I'll tell you what it is. your live streams in particular, because you don't seem to be, you're not rushing from point to point to point. You're not trying to hit everything. You just take it as it comes, man. Like, I remember you did a 15-minute one the other day and you were like, I don't want to run too long here. And I'm sitting here going, dude, I go for 45 minutes. You can go for as long as you like. And you're going, nah, I'm good. I've said all I need to say. And I've chilled for 15 minutes. It's cool. It's all good. I love that. I love how you set it up and you're like, I just want to chill out 15 minutes, invite you in as the viewer, watch me listen to some music, talk about some shit, hit you with some knowledge. Hopefully you walk away a little happier as a result. I love that shit.
That's awesome. I guess the YouTube Studio that Melga told me about, it's another app for my iPad, and it was telling me that for the most part people watch maybe a minute and a half of my videos. So I was like, man, all my 10-15 minute videos must be just, not viewed by that many people anyways.
Right. Well, this is the thing.
I don't know.
So here's where we as kindred spirits here, because we've gone over the weed thing. That's been our hook. We've introduced ourselves, even though we've done that at the beginning of the video. Let's talk about the YouTube thing, because that was one of my questions I asked you about the live streaming thing, and I think it's a relevant topic, because unless you do YouTube, I don't know if you know what it feels like to do a video, and because of, I'm looking at my analytics screen now for my channel. Let's have a look, let's go in there, analytics. So, you go into this, and you have limitless information. You have every piece of information you could possibly want about the breakdown of your channel. Who's watching what, when they're watching it, how long they're watching it for, where they're watching it from, where it's being recommended from, how many subscribers you have, where they're from, blah, 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 blah. And when the figures don't look good, even if you're doing this for fun, like you and I do, I think we could both put our hands up and say, look, we do this for the love of the game, and we do it because we enjoy it. But it's so easy to get swept up in fuck. If I go to my most popular video of all time, it's done 1,000 and something views or whatever it is. Where is it? Yeah, so it's done, and it's got 3. No, come on, fucking thing. Interface is still shockingly bad, by the way. But what are you gonna do? But anyway, point being is, that if I was to go into that video now, the average view time, and that's a 35-minute video, dude, maybe even 40 minutes, the average view time is going to be 3 minutes, 4 minutes.
Yeah.
But the point is that not a lot of people watch YouTube videos from start to finish. Not very, very few, I would argue.
Yeah.
Just because you and I watch YouTube. I bet you watch YouTube too. You might watch the occasional video all the way through, but there's going to be some videos where you skip bits. There's going to be some videos where you kind of, I don't really like this guy. It might just be on a channel that you watch, but the presenter you watch and you're like, I don't really like this guy, so I'm going to flick through. Yeah. It happens. Yeah. So what I'd like to know from your perspective, because you've grown a little bit over the last few weeks and months, and it's blown my mind seeing you starting to do the live streams, because I think you'll have some success with that if you keep with it.
Thank you.
What do you think is the most important thing for anyone who's getting into YouTube, who may be looking at that and going, wow, that sucks. No one's really paying attention to my videos the way I'd want them to. What would you want to say to them to say, hey, listen, you didn't get into this for the money, you got into this for fun. What would you say to try and reaffirm them?
I would literally say, you gotta have fun, and if you're having fun and other people can see you have fun, then hopefully it'll grow. Hopefully eventually it'll get bigger and bigger, but you gotta have fun. You really can't force something. That would be it, probably.
Let me ask you another question. And this sounds like such a fucking fanboy thing of me to do, because and I'll put my hand up right now and I'll say, as God is my witness, may he strike me down where I sit. I do still occasionally go through some of my old videos and I'll watch some of them and I'll go, wow, look at this piece of shit. Look at this pile of cack. why the fuck did I release this? This is terrible. But then, rarely, it does happen, I smell my own farts to a degree and I go, actually, this one isn't too bad. This one's all right.
Yeah.
Do you ever do that?
I would definitely admit to that. Probably once a month.
Good man. That's what I like to hear. Anyone in particular that you'd recommend? Is there like because I know which one mine is. Is there a show of yours that you look back on and you just go, do you know what? If I could do that every week, if I could do that every other day or whatever, I'd really have something. But there was just something about that video that you caught lightning in a bottle. You had magic and you were like, fuck, that's really funny, or that was really insightful, or that was really well done. How do I get back to that? What is there a video or some videos that you think of yours that you'd recommend to people?
Probably Shelve It, which was a skit that I did. And one thing that I would recommend that I did recently too was I made playlists for my videos. So I put all my skits into one playlist, and I put all my videos where I talk about music in another one. So yes, there is a playlist with all of my videos in them, but then there's those two other ones. So those are two things that I really liked about my channel, was that Shelve It and then the two playlists.
And if you could highlight, why do you think those ones were particularly good in your view?
The Shelve It one, I don't know. I think that was at the peak of my skits. I really used to do a lot more of those than I do these days. Yeah, but when you think about any other, like SNL or Monty Python or any skit show, there's dozens of writers and producers and directors. There's so many people that can put an idea in there, and for me it was just me. And I would always say, hey, ideas or requests, I'm always open to that, but I got very few, and that's fine. I'm not like mad about that, but yeah, so it was only me writing all those skits, and then after years of doing it, I guess I just kind of ran out of ideas eventually.
Do you know what? I had a thought about this, and I don't know how much you agree or disagree with this, because I don't know what the comparative is in America. Do you call it, so when you've got a musician on the street, he's got like a mic and a guitar and an open guitar case, and the idea is that he just plays, and you might chuck a buck or two in there if he's all right, and you assume he's homeless, or you assume he does it because he's not not doing it for a living. Let's put it that way.
Right.
We call it busking in this country. They're buskers. Occasionally, you come across some really fucking talented musicians. Some they can really sing, or they can really play a guitar, or they can really do whatever they're performing. They do great.
Yeah.
But do they have a crowd? Is their suitcase brimmed with money? No.
Not over here.
And I'll tell you for why. It's because we as people are hardwired not to like anything even remotely unpopular, and to say to other people, hey, I think this guy's really, really good. And people that do are often looked at as a bit crazy. You see it all the fucking time. Like if I actually had a conversation recently with, I think they were either creationists or Jehovah's Witnesses. It wasn't 100% clear, but they had one of those signs set up in the middle of a town centre with, how did we get to here? And I was like, well, I've got half an hour to kill. So I walk up and I have the conversation with them. Now, I'd walked past them once on the way in, and I just didn't talk to them because I had somewhere to be. But I remember walking past, and the guy's trying to get people's attention. He's waving flyers, and he's pointing to his little stand with a nuclear explosion and DNA and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, no one's engaging with this guy. And that's sad, because he's clearly very passionate about what he's doing. He's put some effort into getting set up. He's had to engage some courage, because it takes a lot to do that. And it made me think, do you know what? YouTube's very similar. YouTube is very, very similar, because, man, the choice out there the amount of people doing it, the amount of people doing stuff that's considered more popular, and the fact that if you subscribe or if you leave a comment or watch or like or whatever, you are putting your validation behind that channel. And not a lot of people are prepared to do that. They're only prepared to do that with channels that they think are big or growing or that they've got some personal stake in or something like that. And it's like, yeah, well, that doesn't make our channels bad. All it does is we've not reached that audience yet. That's it. That's the only thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how do you, as a YouTuber, and as someone that's been doing it as long as me, clearly, because you've run pretty much tandem with me. How do you feel about the fact that some YouTubers, and you see it all the fucking time, and I almost did this a couple of weeks ago, where you throw the paddy and you're like, I don't want to do this anymore, this is boring, and no one's watching anyway, so what's the point? But then you go, but it's fun, and I do want to make videos. And I occasionally get a hankering for it, and when I do it, I enjoy it. So, like, how do you feel about all that?
Exactly like that. It's a wonderful hobby for me, and when I hear people talk about that, yeah, sometimes I'm like, why can somebody with that many subs be complaining about whatever? Just do it, either make them or don't, or I don't know. For me, it is a great hobby, and yeah, I don't know how humble I am, though. Sometimes I feel greedy. Sometimes the way I title a video might be slightly greedy, but I really don't try to do like clickbait style. I really don't do it that horribly. And yeah, there's some giant channels that I like. Everything from like John Oliver, Bill Maher, stuff like that. But they have millions of subscribers, and I'm chilling. I was chilling with 50, and then bam, I got down to 49. But I'm still chilling. I'm really grateful.
Honestly, dude, don't sweat the odd one here and there. I go up and down 5 or 6 Twitter followers and subscribers every month now. It just seems to be cyclical. It just like you'll hit a bit, and then you've got to just kind of power through that little bit of stagnation, and then you'll rise again. I guarantee it, man. I guarantee it. Especially if you do content on a consistent basis, unlike me, you'll see growth. I guarantee it. It's why I've promised. Oh, might as well put the shout out and do the plug here. I've promised a video every single day for the next 2 weeks at the very minimum. Every single day, without fail.
Yeah, that's right. I think I saw the tweet about that. That's very cool.
Yeah, well, it gives me because I've been sitting on episodes. I have about 30 episodes of the show ready-made and just waiting to go. Wow. But I haven't been releasing them because I've had better things to do, and I've not felt like and I've done the line streams instead. So I'm like, fuck it. People don't tune in to hear me complain. People, if they do tune in, want to see some shit. So I've got game reviews, I've got a couple of movie reviews, a couple of television shows, and then hopefully it's back to the big old Halcyons down the line. But I'm interested to do more of these because I love me some conversation, and I also love it with people who've got some shit to say. And you, my friend, because you're a fellow YouTuber and you do the live streaming too, you got some shit to say, and I like that.
Thank you very much.
Well, dude, I think this has been a decent kickoff, I'd say.
Yeah.
Been decent.
Yeah, I had no idea.
You had no idea?
I didn't know you'd want to do a long one. I'm totally thankful and happy about that. I didn't know when to. This is really awesome, man.
Mate, the pleasure has been all mine. The honor has been all mine. I would love to do this again if you ever get 10, 20 minutes. We won't go so long next time, I promise you.
Yeah, let me tell you this real quick.
Go for it.
I don't have a job. I don't have the need to get a job since my brain surgery thing. My family doesn't pressure me. I live with my girlfriend in my own room. She's just awesome. I can't give her enough credit for everything she does for me. I'm just severely lucky in life. All I have is time. From morning till night, I have just a few chores here and there, but that's why I watch so many things, and that's why I make so many things. I never feel bad if it takes somebody time to watch my videos because, hey, I have my whole life to do whatever I want. I know other people have jobs and family, and I know that. That's all I wanted to say about that. I appreciate it.
No, man, no. Well, listen, this is the thing. If you have the time and the inclination to produce content, I guarantee people are going to want to watch. You're a lovely, lovely guy, cracking YouTube content creator, got my support, my vote of confidence, and that's not easy to get. It's a lot of YouTubers I fucking despise. So the fact that you're not on my shit list is some kind of stamp of approval. I'm not sure it's the kind of stamp of approval you actually want, but it's a stamp of approval nevertheless. But look, dude, I appreciate you taking the time because I've been dying to do this with you for a while. It's just finding the time and doing the crossovers and all the rest of it. I hope people at home, wherever you may be listening to this, have enjoyed this podcast for all it's been worth. And if you want to see more of these, tell the sexy bastard across the way, and he'll maybe consent to doing some more with yours truly. Likewise with me. So I don't know how you want to sign off on this. You know me, I have my little shtick at the end of my videos that I like to do to sign off. But if there's anything you want to do to sign off first, then by all means, I'm handing the reins.
Well, everybody was really awesome, so nobody needs to go fuck themselves.
No, he's lying. You can all go fuck. No, I'm just joking. Well, in that case, then this has been your co-host for this episode, Lorne Risley of the Halcyon Show. Also with me, GFY Productions. Sign yourself off, sir.
GFY.
Peace. GFY. Peace. Thanks very much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. Check out some of the other content creators in the description below, including the sexy Git. Check out some of the other videos that I produced recently. Check out some of GFY's other videos produced. He's going to be doing live streams on a regular basis. You heard it here first. And as always, please take care of yourselves, and we'll see you guys on the next edition of this podcast series, assuming that there is one.